do you know me, I need to do a little bit of Facebook time too. So I'm going to talk about some of this, and then I'm going to show you pictures. So I've been asked to do two things. First and foremost, to talk, about what is going on in Brooklyn in general in regard to gentrification, and also specifically around the Caribbean Day Parade and Juve, that about the police repression. So my name is Imani Henry. I'm a comrade with Workers' World Party. I also do organizing with a group called Equality for Flatbush. And Equality for Flatbush is based in Flatbush, Brooklyn, East Flatbush, Brooklyn. We have a Brooklyn-wide campaign, if you see the stickers in the back, that called Before It's Gone, Take It Back. We do anti-gentrification work. We also do anti-police repression work, and also are the initiating organization of the group called the Brooklyn Anti-Gentrification Network. I raise all of these things. You don't have to follow along, but that they will all come up. So, so I'll talk a little bit about Caribbean Day, just really quickly. So, as folks probably know, this is actually the 50th anniversary of the Caribbean Day Parade is this year. That in some form, shape, or form, there's a discrepancy. Wikipedia says 1920s in Harlem, that it started particularly the Trinidadian community. There's another, the WIDACA, the actual organization that is now the lead organization that coordinates the Caribbean Day Parade for New York City, says 1930s. Whatever, it's the 50th anniversary, and that's what we're celebrating. The piece that's, I think, is incredibly important is that while that is incredibly well-funded, well-organized, and one of the largest parades, cultural parades in all of New York, I like to say and believe it's like the third largest Caribbean cultural parade in the world, actually. It's like, I believe it's Caravana, am I right? Caravana, then Trinidad, and then it's New York, and then my country, Jamaica, is like next. Sunsplash, Reggae Sunsplash, I think is after. But it is also because it's pan-Caribbean, and I think that's really important, that you see the expression of all the entire Caribbean, like English-speaking, Creole-speaking, Spanish-speaking, all the ways that we speak. So anyway, with that said, there's been a lot of attacks on it, especially because the neighborhoods that are involved, Crown Heights, Flatbush, East Flatbush, are rapidly gentrifying. And all of a sudden, again, with the repression that is, the police repression that happens in that neighborhood, we have seen incredible en massing of police during Caribbean Day. Now, of course, we don't want to undercut the fact that there is quote unquote street crime. There were 2 people that were killed, unfortunately, last year during Juve. But wanting to be very, very mindful that we talk about the fact, Equality Flatbush talks about the fact that when you look at the level of racist violence, the history of the United States, and all the violence that have occurred, when we talk about white repressive violence, when you juxtapose that to quote unquote what they so-called black on black crime, it's countless if you talk about the war on black America, the war on brown America that has happened in this country. So when they juxtapose and sort of act that they need 1 million cops for a neighborhood cultural event, we say, well, what about the reparations that we deserve as black and brown people for all the violence that has happened to our peoples? What about all the gentrification and all the displacement that we have lived through? We say that even there's been studies, and I could go on and on, there have been studies that have been done in New Haven around quote unquote street crime, and what does it mean to have cohesive communities, that we ourselves can create safer communities for ourselves, but displacement doesn't do that, right? When you lose family members or leaders in your communities or schools or libraries, that doesn't create cohesiveness in our community. And that's the piece, that there are solutions for these things, but they don't allow it. What they allow is more and more cops. That doesn't solve a damn thing. And actually, there's no statistical data that proves that amassing police occupations actually, as in the case of 2016 in Juve, stops quote unquote street crime. It's a lie. So with this said, we know it's just about surveilling us. So Equality for Flatbush with the East Flatbush Cop Watch team has done cop watching since at least last year to go out. This year we sued the NYPD and we said, why? How many cops did you have out there? Because we saw there were thousands. Why are there floodlights down at the end of this block where there's not next to anything to the parade? Why are you surveilling our people? And we want to know that. And the police said, no, you don't have any right to know that. And we said, okay, well, we'll sue you. And that's the next step in this is that we're suing the NYPD and in a lawsuit with them so we can obtain this information. What we know is that at this point in time, we have no idea the amount of cops that have happened for 2017, but we do know that they were incredibly successful in destroying the cultural celebration of Juve, which is a more spontaneous march that happens in the community. I'm going to roll some tape right now. All right, so the first thing we wanted to show. So out of Prospect Park, folks marched down through Flatbush Avenue, and what you're about to see is the police coming to try to break through this march. And there was like an intense situation. We cop watched this intense situation where we thought they were going to destroy this march, and they got all the way down the church, and folks were like, "Oh hell no!" And they wouldn't let the police come through the crowd. As you can see, they were like, "Oh well," and folks just kept running forward because people are used to marching on Flatbush Avenue and just able to march. And again, when the police again had locked down everything, they were like, "We don't care, we're going to keep marching," and folks kept marching. I don't know where folks ended up, but generally folks kind of loop a way around. What we did want to report on is that, so with the route of Juve is usually, it starts on Eastern Parkway and then comes over onto Empire and then goes on Nostrand. By about 11 o'clock, we started getting reports that the police had shut down all of Nostrand Ave, taken all the vendors off the street, told people they can't come out of their houses. Literally, we're not showing all the video of that. We literally have video of people, women just saying like, "I want to talk to someone in charge." There were checkpoints. You had to be checkpoint to come through. You had to be waved down and wand down to come in to where Juve was. You had to even, to get to your house, and literally what was beautiful, people took care of each other. People said, if you had any drugs or alcohol, don't go through a checkpoint. So people walked either all the way around to try to get to their houses, or just waited as long as they could to not get home. Or what also happened is people didn't come out. And the NYPD is saying people were afraid to come out of each other. Yeah, right. And we said that's some bullshit. They were afraid of you. And what people did do was take care of each other. So I'm going to show you just another footage of the destitute. The streets are just a ghost town. On 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, this is like 2 a.m. in the morning, but by 11 o'clock they had successfully pushed people off the streets. This is Nostrand Street. On Cuban.
And did not allow people to get to their homes.
When I was on my way home at 8 o'clock in the morning after cop watching, they said they'd been out there for 3 days and hadn't even broken
No one
because they pushed so people were off the street. That people were not like buying food were out there because it was so like this. This is Nostrand Ave, where the parade would be. There's other. I want to just also, while in showing all of this, I just want to also highlight that it doesn't matter, you know, what they do. There's lots of still bands and all kinds of other stuff, but again, I could show you a video of like no one to receive them, no one on the side, no one there. because there was so much ridiculousness with the police. The last thing I'm going to just talk about, how much time I got?
We're using the mic.
I forgot the mic. So the last thing I want to talk about is again about with the understanding, so a few weekends later, this weekend was the very first Brooklyn-wide march against gentrification, racism, and police violence. And so Equality for Flatbush again. Initiated the Brooklyn Anti-Gentrification Network, which is about 16 different groups in Brooklyn, along with hundreds of activists, that basically come together to, like, really, frankly, to form a fist. That folks are fighting the, industry city and the BQX, which is like we call it the gentrification train. It's a private train, like monorail, that they want to build, that from Queens to Sunset Park, Red Hook, really, and that you have to pay. It's separate. You can't use your MetroCard on it, but rich people can pay some separate fare. People couldn't get to work this morning, right? Like the subway was down and all kinds of things was happening. Who can afford some extra fare? So this is a whole. Thank you so much, Sharon. Whoa, my God. Here are folks in Sunset Park, our folks in Flatbush, our folks in Crown Heights fighting against like upzoning and rezoning of different neighborhoods, all come together under the understanding of ban gentrification. And so we had a Brooklyn-wide march. The main piece was that the police tried to stop. They did not give us a permit for Barclays, and so the march went from Barclays Center. We went to then nice, beautiful down along Fulton Street. Up to Crown Heights, to Ebbets Field, which is a large historically black apartment complex, to talk also about Lori Cumbo, who wants to sell off the Bedford Armory for $1 and build luxury apartments. And then we went to the Bedford Armory that has a beautiful sign that says like "Kill the Deal." We then marched we marched through Summerhill. Folks know about Summerhill? The bar Summerhill, we have footage of that. I'll show that real quick. Marched past Summerhill, marched through Bed-Stuy, went to Von King Park in Bed-Stuy, and then went and marched with folks and all the way in Bushwick. It was 7 miles. It was great. 7-mile march. I think I rung in 28,000 like steps that day. And the newspapers have said things like it's 200 people. We're like, it was 500 people, if not more people at different points. At different points of time. I'm going to show you the footage of it. But even more so, it was badass in this sense. Like there were moments like, again, like, that it inspired. We had business owner. I talked to a business owner today that hasn't had a bathroom or heat in her stall in Crown Heights. And because we walked by, she was inspired. She was like, I want a demo too. And the community confronted her landlord during the march. Because she was telling people what was happening to her, and people in the community was like, don't lie. And I talked to her today, and we're gonna like support her. Or in the same way that like Jerry Campbell, who's Barclays demolished his house, I start crying, demolished his house to make the Barclays Center could speak out. 5 generations of black people, Caribbean people, his house is now literally demolished and gone, and Barclays Center stands right there, could speak out. Or a sister that won $5,000 against a house flipper could speak out at Bed-Stuy. And it was like that over and over. So, Million Hoodies, all these other groups. So let me just show you what happened, and we can move on and wrap up. But comrades, know that this is and I want to just, again, always thank the party, because, we meet here in this office. Band meets here in this office. And the thing that I think is also the most important is that we really are looking at how many ways, because what's happening in Durham, what's happening, in Boston, whatever, around, white supremacy is also about part and parcel of the struggle around affordable housing. It's completely and totally connected. There's no coincidence that the Proud Boys mass up here in New York City. They're a fascist group that they're fighting to make sure that black and brown people are displaced from New York City. There's no coincidence as what's happening with white supremacy in Durham, as Leilani pointed out, that a highway destroys their neighborhood, and that Block Party is a way to cement what people are doing. So I'm going to quickly just show you some videos. We hope that there's going to be another march very soon, because we didn't get to East New York. We didn't get to East, Flatbush. We didn't get to all the other neighborhoods that we need to. So get ready. there's going to be more marching. We got to figure out how to get to East New York and Greenpoint. maybe there'll be 3 marches. But anyway, let me show you some footage.
Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill!
Just say PPA, folks. Fuck Your Brunch was one of the best placards of the day. The party placards got so much love, comrades. It is not funny. This kills Caribbean culture, all of it. People loved our signs.
Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill! Boycott Summerhill! And they don't get no peace.
We said if we don't get no housing,
And they don't get no peace.
I said if we don't get.
I don't know where it's at. And last but not least, I'm just gonna do this one. This is, I don't know where this is, but we'll just do this one. This is called Nice.